Good morning Year 4 and welcome to Tuesday's maths lesson. Here are the answers to yesterday's word problems. Just pause the video in a second and just check your answers. Hopefully you were able to work out that all of these questions required part-whole bar models, and then you had to work out whether it was an addition calculation or a subtraction calculation. And obviously once you have labelled your bar model, there's a really good clue about whether it's an addition or a subtraction. If we have a look at this question, we can see that we have the two parts and we don't have the whole. So to find the whole requires us to add the two parts together. In this question, we have the whole and we know one of the parts. So to find the other part, we have to subtract the part from the whole. So drawing the bar model is a really good idea and labelling it because it helps you visualise whether you're going to be doing a subtraction calculation or an addition calculation. While you're checking your answers, just make sure, did you write your answer in metres and centimetres? So when we added the two heights together, our answer was 331 centimetres, but you were asked to answer in metres and centimetres, so you had to convert that. Likewise, in this question and this question, you had to put your answers into kilograms and grams. So pause the video, check your answers, and use these to purple polish if you made any mistakes. And now on to today's lesson. So we continue working with one-step word problems. I'm learning to solve one-step word problems, but let's have a look at the first question. Peter has 4 pieces of wool that each have the same length of 178 centimetres. What is the total length of wool he has? So as always with a word problem, we are looking for clues that are going to help us determine which operation we will use. So first of all, we know that he has 4 pieces of wool and they're each the same length. They are equal and this information is key. And each length is 178 centimetres. So we want to know the total length of wool he has. So if we draw a bar model, we know that we have 4 groups, 4 pieces of wool, and we can do them as 4 groups because they are equal. So each one has 178 centimetres. There's a length of 178 centimetres. Now we could label each of these bars 178 centimetres, but because they are all equal size, we know that if this one is 178, then all of them are. And we are looking to find out the total value. Now, as you know, we could carry out repeated addition, 178 plus 178 plus 178 plus 178. An easier way to do that is we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 groups, 4 equal groups, each with 178 centimetres. So we can carry out a multiplication, 178 multiplied by 4, and the answer is 712. But we don't stop there, we put our answer into a sentence. The total length of the wool he has is 712 centimetres. So we use the question, the wording of the question, to help us with the wording of the answer. So hopefully you'll have noticed the number of groups, the number in each group, and the total amount. And if you go back to when we did multiplication earlier on in the year, hopefully you'll have remembered that when we're carrying out a multiplication, we think about the number of groups multiplied by the number of items in each group, and that gives us the total amount. Now, obviously, groups can be anything. They could be baskets with fruit in them. They could be a piece of wool which has a length. It varies. But if you think about it in those terms, number of groups, number in each group, and the total amount, we have 4 pieces of wool. The length of each piece of wool is 178. And to find the total length, we multiply. So let's have a look at the next question. Hardeep put some grapes equally into 5 bags. The mass of each bag of grapes is 125 grams. What is the total mass of the 5 bags of grapes? So I'd like you in a second to pause the video, but I'd like you to think about the number of groups. Which of the numbers in this word problem tells us the number of groups? Which tells us the number of items in each group, and how are we going to find the total amount? So you've got a bar model that's already drawn for you. You need to label that and work out what the number sentence would be and then what your answer is. So pause the video and have a go. So hopefully you'll have realised that our number of groups is the number of bags. So Hardeep puts some grapes equally into 5 bags. So he's making 5 equal bags. In each bag, he puts 125 grams. So we have 5 equal bags, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, with 125 grams in each. So in order to find the total amount, we need to multiply the number of groups, which is the number of bags, with the number in each group, which is the amount of the mass of grapes in each bag. So our number sentence is 5 multiplied by 125, which is equal to 625. Now, you may have been able to do that mentally. If not, then you could write out a written method. And remember that you must always label your unit of measure correctly. So 625 grams. Now I'd like you to have a look at this one together. Mr. Robert has 344 litres of petrol. He pours the petrol equally into 8 containers. How many litres of petrol are there in each container? So again, I'd like you just to pause in a second, have a think about what do each of the numbers that we've been given in this word problem represent? Do we know the total amount of anything? Do we know the number of groups? Do we know the number of items in each group? So we know that he has 344 litres of petrol. And he's pouring that petrol equally into 8 containers. So we have 8 equal groups, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that in total, he has 344 litres. And he is sharing that amongst the 8 groups, the 8 containers. So if he is sharing the total amount between the 8 groups, then we need to carry out a division to work out how many litres of petrol are in each container, how much is in each group. So our number sentence is 344 divided by 8, and the answer is 43. If you're able to do that mentally, fantastic. We did learn the written method for division just before lockdown, and we will be carrying that on. We haven't finished working on division. So hopefully if you're able to have a look at the written method here, that will help you remember how to do that, but I'll quickly go through that with you. So what we want to do is we have 344 litres and we want to share that equally into 8 groups. So that means that we need to know our 8 times table. Now, if it was me, I would just quickly write out my 8 times table, just so that I've got a quick reference guide to help me. That's it, up to 10. And unlike lots of the other calculations that we carry out, when we are dividing, we start off with the hundreds. So first of all, I know that I've got 3 hundreds, and I want to know how many of them I can share into 8 equal groups. Well, if we look over here, we know that 3 isn't in the 8 times table. So I can't divide my 300s equally into 8 groups. So I regroup that 300s and I have 34 10s. So I regroup the 300s for 30 10s and I add it onto the 4 10s I already have. So now I'm going to look at 34 10s. Can I share 34 10s equally into 8 groups? So let's have a look. We can have 32 10s shared equally into 8 groups. Then it goes to 40, so we have to stop at 32. So I know that I can share 32 of these 10s equally into 8 groups, and there will be 1, 2, 3, 4 10s in each group. Then I'll be left with 2 tens. And I can't share 2 tens equally into 8 groups. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to regroup this 2 tens for 20 ones and add them onto the 4 ones that I have in my ones column. And then I'm going to try sharing the 24 ones equally into 8 groups. Let's have a look. 8, 16, 24. So I know that 3 lots of 8 will make 24. So 24 shared equally into 8 groups will be 3 ones. So the answer to 344 divided by 8 is 43. And we would just check that 3 8s are 24 and we have no remainder. So hopefully this will help you, and if you need to pause the video, rewind it to go back if there are any other division questions within your work, please do so. Don't worry too much if you're finding it a bit tricky. As I said, we are going to go through this again when later on in the school year, but that is how we carry out a written division method. So let's have a look at the next question. Ty cuts a ribbon 135 centimetre long into 5 pieces. What is the length of each piece? So you have a bar model already drawn for you. I'd like you to label the bar model and work out what the number sentence is and work out the answer, please. So pause the video and have a go at that. So Ty cuts a ribbon 135 centimetres long into 5 pieces. What is the length of each piece? So we have 5 pieces, and we should say equal pieces. Hopefully you'll have assumed that they are equal. And we're cutting a ribbon that's 135 into 5. So we are dividing the total length of 135 into 5 pieces. Therefore, we want to know what the length of each piece is. You may have been able to do that mentally. If not, let's have a look at the written method. So we are sharing 135 into 5 equal groups. And again, just quickly write down your 5 times table, although hopefully you should know that. And we will begin with the hundreds. So we've got 100, we want to share that equally into 5 groups. We will know that we can't share 100 equally into 5. So we'll regroup that 100 for 10 tens, and we'll look at 13 tens. Can we share that equally into 5 groups? If I look at my 5 times table, I'll know that I can share 10 of those. And if I share 10 of those into 5 equal groups, that will be 2 tens in each group. And I'll have 3 tens left over. I can't share 3 tens equally into 5 groups, but I can regroup 3 tens for 31s and add them onto the 5 ones that we have in the ones column. And I can then try and sharing 35 ones equally into 5 groups. And if I look down my 5 times table, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 35 shared equally into 5 groups would give me 7 ones in each group. So if I divide 135 into 5 equal pieces, I will have 27. The length of each piece will be 27. And again, make sure that we answer that in a full sentence. The length of each piece of ribbon is 27 centimetres. So it's okay if you don't have centimetres written when you're doing your workings, but you must always make sure that you use the unit correctly in your answer.